In Peru, citizens of Guayacan and Ayacucho led a new march to downtown Lima demanding Dina Boluarte's resignation. Meanwhile, the Puno region continues its indefinite strike. In Brazil, President Lula da Silva met German Chancellor Olaf Scholz at the Planalto Palace as Germany promised an additional 31 million euros for the protection of the Brazilian Amazon. In Pakistan, a suicide bombing attack at a mosque located inside a police compound killed at least 34 people and injured over 100 others. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Peru, demonstrators marched towards downtown Lima to support the mobilizations against the government of Dina Boluarte. Meanwhile, in Puno, citizens have been mobilized for 26 consecutive days to demand the resignation of the president, early elections, and the call for a constituent assembly. During the day, activists denounced the repressive policies of the Boluarte administration, which they affirm only increased social discontent in the nation. Today's police repression has left 66 people killed and more than 1,000 injured since the ousting and arrest of former President Pedro Castillo. On Monday, also, Peru's coffee producers and farmers joined the protests and began a nationwide strike. The Peruvian Congress approved by majority to reconsider moving general elections forward to 2023. The reconsideration proposal made by Congressman Arturo Alegría from Fuerza Popular obtained 66 votes in favor. After the approval, the President of the Constitution and Regulations Committee, Hernando Guerra Garcia, also from Fuerza Popular, requested a fourth recess to prepare a new draft to be agreed upon by the different parties in Parliament. The Ombudsman's office praised the Congress decision and said it will help find solutions to end the social and political crisis faced by the country since December 2022. The police in Peru requested the return of a batch of 12,000 tear gas grenades from its Ecuadorian counterpart. Ecuador has received these load as a loan from Peruvian police back in May 2020 during the wave of protests that broke out after former President Lenín Moreno launched a package of economic measures. Faced with a lack of anti-riot material due to successive protests against the government of President Dina Boluarte that have been ongoing for more than 50 days. Peruvian police decided to ask Ecuadorian police to return the tear gas grenades that had been entrusted to them in that occasion. According to the Interior Ministry, the batch of grenades was handed over to Peruvian police at the border with Ecuador. The shipment was then transferred to the airport of Tumbes, from where a police aviation aircraft made the transfer to Lima. The Ecuadorian province of Guayas experienced a weekend of terror with at least 15 people killed, according to local media reports on Monday. The two massacres that occurred in Guayas reflect the situation of insecurity in that territory, where 5 people were shot in a pool bar and 5 others were shot inside a private urbanization, among them a baby less than a year old. Other homicides also occur in the coastal province, which has seen 155 violent deaths this year before the end of January. Candidates and hanging bodies are maintained in Ecuador despite the actions against drug trafficking and organized crime promoted by the government. The Inter-American Court of Human Rights condemned the Colombian state for the extermination of the Patriotic Union to the detriment of more than 6,000 members and militants of this political party. Following inquiries by the Inter-American Court of Human Rights into complaints by surviving militants, the responsibility of the Colombian state was established. According to the court, the state violated the rights to life, freedom of expression, association, and honor of the victims. In this regard, the Human Rights International entity ordered the prompt conclusion of the investigations into the human rights violations committed by the state in order to establish the truth and determine criminal responsibilities so that there is no impunity for the facts related to the case. On Monday in Argentina, members of 120 social, political and trade union organizations are gearing for a mobilization to denounce the existence of what they call a British enclave at Lago Escondido in the province of Rio Negro. Center of a corruption scandal in the past weeks after it hosted a meeting of Argentinian judges, prosecutors, former and current public officials, and former intelligence agents implicated in the admission of bribes and other crimes. That is why social movements refer to the site as a den for mafia power, which aims to condition democracy. They are also demanding that the local government of Rio Negro comply with court rulings ordering them to condition access roads to the lake inside the property as it is a public natural resource. Let us take a short break, but first remember you can follow us on TikTok at the account of teleSUR English, in which you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back from the south. On Monday, Brazilian President Lula da Silva received German Chancellor Scholz, with whom he expects to discuss trade and environmental agreements. Chancellor Scholz arrived in Brazil after visiting a meeting with the presidents of Argentina, Alberto Fernandez, and Chile, Gabriel Boric, as part of his tour around the Latin American continent. This is the first official visit of the German head of state to Brazil since 2015. He also becomes the first leader of Western powers to meet with Lula since he came to power on January 1st. The aim of his tour through the South American continent is to expand bilateral trade, investment flows, and project financing in all three countries. In Brazil, German Minister of Cooperation Svenja Schulze said Germany will provide financial support for the protection and conservation of the Amazon rainforest. The announcement follows a meeting in Brasilia with Brazilian Minister of the Environment Marina Silva. Berlin plans to donate 35 million euros to the Amazon Fund, resources that will be destined to environmental preservation projects frozen since 2019. Germany had interrupted, together with Norway, its cooperation with that fund due to the lack of commitment of former Brazilian far-right President Jair Bolsonaro to the protection of the rainforest. Other measures announced were financial support for an energy efficiency guarantor fund for small and medium-sized enterprises, 2 sustainable supply chain projects, and funding for a project for the reforestation of degraded areas.
We also face an opportunity to reverse this whole situation, surging fires and clear-cutting in the rainforest. Based on the guidelines that have been given by President Lula to combat inequality with democracy and sustainability. And for that, we are looking for partnerships that could help us to make Brazil fulfill its objective of complying with its commitments under the Paris Agreements. We both agree, Marina Silva and I, to strengthen our cooperation very quickly, and that is why we have set up a program for the first 100 days to act quickly and fill the Amazon Fund, which we are doing with 35 million euros. We are going to support the new Regional Aid Fund with 31 million euros. We have also agreed on other things to help reforest degraded areas, that is, to help farmers in a very concrete way.
During a special military operation on Monday, the Russian army obtained evidence confirming the United States' involvement in financing military biological projects in Ukraine. According to the chief of Moscow's Radiation, Chemical and Biological Protection Force, Igor Kirillov, the documents dated March 6, 2015, confirmed the Pentagon's direct involvement in financing military biological experiments in Kiev. Kirillov stressed that it was standard practice to fund U.S. health and epidemiological well-being projects in third countries, including those in Africa and Asia, through National Health Service agencies. On Monday, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Mao Ning said China is willing to further enhance relations with the community of Latin American and Caribbean states, as demonstrated by President Xi Jinping's speech at the 7th CELAC summit last week.
President Xi delivering a video address at the CELAC summit upon invitation has demonstrated China's consistent support for the integration process of Latin America and the Caribbean, and the great importance it attached to developing the relations with the CELAC, which was widely praised by countries in the region. Guided by the keynote of President Xi's video address, China is ready to work with Latin American and Caribbean states to continue strengthening the construction of China-CELAC Forum and take the China-CELAC relations to a new level in the new era of equality, mutual benefit, innovation, openness, and people benefiting orientation, jointly building a China-CELAC community with a shared future.
The Chinese government also denounced the United States for coercing and luring allies against Beijing after Japan and the Netherlands agreed to a deal with the U.S. to restrict China's access to production supplies.
In order to maintain its hegemony and self-interest, the U.S. has been abusing export controls, coercing and luring other countries to put up small circles to contain China, and politicizing sky-tech and economic and trade issues. This seriously violates market principles and the international trade order, and China is firmly against it.
In France, members of parliament met to study and debate the pension reform bill at a meeting of the National Assembly's Social Affairs Committee ahead of another round of nationwide protests against the government's initiative. The mood in the country remains tense, with some opposition lawmakers complaining about the government not listening to the French people. Meanwhile, one MP from the ruling party said the committee was being abused after the left-wing opposition submitted over 7,000 amendments to the draft legislation to slow its path through parliament. On Monday, WHO General Director Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus announced that the maximum alert level for COVID-19 will be maintained 3 years after the international public emergency for the disease was first declared. The announcement follows a meeting of the experts committee last Friday. Prior to the meeting, Tedros had said that he would have considered a possible lifting of the state of emergency on the disease as a premature move. In many countries, the worrying situation continues as there has been a recent spike in fatalities. In the last 2 months alone, COVID-19 killed 170,000 people worldwide. Official statistics from WHO put the total number of victims of the disease close to 7 million, but experts acknowledge that the true figure is much higher. We have more news coming up after a final short break, so don't go away. Welcome back from the south. On Monday in Pakistan, a suicide bomber detonated explosive during prayers at a mosque inside a police compound, causing the roof to cave in. At least 34 people were killed and more than 100 wounded. Most of the casualties of the attack were police officers, and many were injured when the roof came down. It was not clear how the bomber was able to slim into the compound, which houses the northwestern city of Peshawar's police headquarters, and it's itself located in a high-security zone with other government buildings. According to a local police officer, more than 300 worshippers were praying inside the mosque when the bomber set off his explosive vest. Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif condemned the bombing, calling it a terrorist suicide attack, and ordered authorities to ensure the best possible medical treatment for the injured. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov expressed his condolences following Monday's suicide bombing inside a mosque in Pakistani city Peshawar.
While we are holding talks, we got a message about another terrorist attack near a mosque in Peshawar. There are casualties. We join in expressing condolence, but at the same time we insist that the fight against terrorism should be activated in the world and should be conducted without any double standards and attempts to play games with terrorist groups to achieve political goals.
Afghanistan's ongoing humanitarian crisis has worsened in the current winter season as a result of the continued lack of food and heating supplies. Extreme chilly weather and snowfall have swept through parts of the country since the first week of January, when the temperatures fell to minus 30 degrees Celsius in some areas. According to the Ministry of Natural Disaster Management and Humanitarian Affairs, Heavy snowfall and freezing weather have claimed more than 100 lives, including children and women, over the past 3 weeks. The country is still facing a humanitarian crisis due to the 2 decades of war waged by the United States and economic sanctions imposed after the withdrawal of its troops. Heavy snowfall hits parts of northern Iraq, blanketing Soran district near Erbil and blocking roads in several locations. According to a local news channel, at least 60 centimeters of snow had fallen in the previous 24 hours in parts of the Soran district. Snow is not unusual in the winter in Iraq's mountainous north. It often shuts down traffic in the winter months for days on end, halting trade and traffic with the country and Turkey. Authorities warn citizens not to cross the border with both nations unless it is urgent, as heavy snow and wind make driving conditions difficult. The Red Cross International Committee stated on Monday that several medical facilities were destroyed and looted during the 2 years of fighting in the Tigray region. The committee added the difficult situation does not allow health services, such as the international organization Doctors Without Borders, to intervene effectively to treat patients. According to the Ethiopian Red Cross Society, thousands of people have died due to the lack of health care over the past month in Tigray. Meanwhile, Oliver Ben, Doctors Without Borders General Director, said this vandalism is a widespread attack on healthcare, citing that only 13% of healthcare facilities were functioning normally. On Monday, India paid tribute to the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, on the 75th anniversary of his assassination. Gandhi was a central figure of the movement for national independence from British colonial rule. On this date, which is also Martyrs' Day, President Draupadi Murmu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi laid wreaths at the Rajghat Memorial, the site where Mahatma Gandhi was cremated in 1948. The tribute ceremonies included an interfaith prayer meeting and the rendition of some songs of Mahatma's favorite songs in a session attended by students and personalities from all walks of life. Also, participants observed 2 minutes of silence honoring the father of India, who was shot dead 74 years ago. We have come to the end of this newsbrief, and you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For Telesur English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.